And come back and join us.
Come on back. Come on back. We need to see you again.
We understand if because we've gone well into our time.
So we're just gonna hit it real quick.
Yep, we're just gonna move. We're gonna forge forward.
Forge ahead.
And if you are watching ahead.
That's a lesson.
The replay, then
forget that replay. It's only like 5 minutes long and it's messed up. So
hey, Tisha and Angela. So we are talking about trust.
Trust. How do we
during your relationship
trust?
And how to rebuild trust
once it's been broken? Once it's been broken.
Broken trust can come from
a number of sources.
A multitude of sources.
Yeah, there are many ways for it. And we're really specifically talking about marriage. I know that trust issues can exist outside of marriage. Mm-hmm. But specifically, we're discussing when the trust has been broken by one of the spouses against the other. There was trust, multiple amount of trust, all kinds of trust, and then somebody did something to break the trust. Mm-hmm. Now we're trying to discuss how to recover from that. Not necessarily that you grew up with trust issues or somebody broke your heart when you were single and now you don't trust anybody. We're not talking about that kind of trust. Mm-hmm. We're talking about there was well-established trust and now something happened.
Angie.
Something that happened and now the trust has been damaged.
Now the trust has been broken.
All the way gone.
Yeah.
All the way gone.
So I will even start with my transparent moment.
Right off the bat.
Right off the bat. We're already running late. We're running behind. So we're going to start right off the bat with my transparent moment.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
And I know I'm usually the one with issues. I'm the high maintenance one in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Everybody know I'm a little high maintenance.
Nothing wrong with you.
So I will start with my transparent moment.
All right.
And most of the people that know me know that I've always, well, not always, I've had health challenges in my life.
Right.
So I am a breast cancer survivor.
Praise God.
And during that time, we went through a lot of turmoil. Mm-hmm. Because breast cancer doesn't only attack your body physically, it attacks your mental state as well.
Right.
So, long story short, during my my time because I got a mastectomy, but I did not get the reconstruction right away.
Right.
So there was some time that passed, quite a bit of time, that I did not have breast. And that was extremely damaging to my psyche. Mm-hmm. I was just in a completely different place. I was not Michelle. And that just goes to show that, when the enemy comes against you or you are going through warfare, that is just another form that the warfare is not carnal. Mm-hmm. I would say that when I went through my breast cancer ordeal, it was maybe 40% with my body, mm-hmm. and 60% it was a mental challenge.
Right.
At that time, I didn't want Nate to see me. I didn't want my mom had to come and bathe me because I did not want anybody to see me without breast. So I was, look, how can I say this with Auntie Adria on the
Auntie Adria, she's real. She's the wisdom consultant.
Yes. So I
let the Lord use you, yeah.
When I was going through my breast cancer ordeal, an ex-boyfriend tried to step back in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I allowed him to step back in the picture because he knew me pre-breast cancer. So even though Nate was here with me, Nate was caring for me, Nate encouraged me every day.
Yep.
It was a mental battle.
Mental.
And I was not prepared for that. Yeah. I was not prepared for the spiritual battle.
Right.
So, I opened the door for the enemy. And so, at that time, although we did not have a physical relationship, I cheated on my husband mentally, if you can kind of understand that.
Oh yeah.
I entertained an ex-boyfriend while I was going through my health ordeal.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to rebuild that trust. And it took a long time. I mean he didn't just say, "Okay, I forgive you" off the bat. We're in this together. We're stepping back into it.
Right.
He had to learn to trust me again. So and then he had to learn to trust me again when he had done nothing. He hadn't done anything. He had to not only learn to trust me physically, but he had to learn to trust me spiritually, emotionally,
mm-hmm.
mentally.
Yeah.
He had to still take care of me physically because I was sick.
Right. All right. Let me take the heat off you, Michelle, because I don't want you to be in the burner too long. Okay. You did good. I'm proud of you. So Auntie Adria just said, it happens more than we think, this kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And that's true. Emotional affairs are easy to fall into, especially when needs are not met or there's some identity issues going on. You might talk to someone other than your spouse to feel validated. It happens frequently, unfortunately. But the thing that happened in our relationship was, and we're going to talk about it in a minute, was that there was a desire, even after the fact, for us to get back to a normal way of life in marriage. There was a desire for us to overcome. There was a desire for us to get back to loving each other, to deal with whatever issues may have caused it. Like she said, she was still sick, so I was still doing what I needed to do to make sure she was okay. And so I couldn't run. I couldn't be like, I'm out. She was just recovering from breast cancer, so I had an obligation to make sure she was okay. And I think that kind of helped because I couldn't just like dismiss you and be like, I'm going somewhere else, and y'all go and do what y'all gonna do. I didn't have that opportunity to do that because the kind of guy I am, I'm not going to abandon my wife when she's in a health crisis. So, but that's interesting that you brought that up, because in marriages there are things that there are things we expect to take place when trust is not an issue. Mm-hmm. First of all, you expect your spouse to be faithful. You trust your spouse to be faithful, mm-hmm. in mind, in deed, in action. Mm-hmm. You expect that your spouse is not going to harm, reject, try to control or manipulate you. That's a basic trust that you expect to have when trust is good. Mm-hmm. You expect that you're going to get love with no ulterior motives. Like Heavy D said, I want somebody that loves me for me, not because I'm MC Het VD. And that's about all the rap you'll ever get from me.
A rock.
That's all the rap you're gonna get from me. But But the point is, you want somebody to love you. You're going to trust that the love will be based on each other, not on what they can get out of the relationship. If there's any personal gain, financial gain to be had, no ulterior motives. Mm-hmm. The other thing you want to have a trust in a marriage is that you will not abandon each other in times of crisis, tragedy, disagreements. When she talked about the breast cancer, now I'll have a moment of transparency. At first, when she first got diagnosed, no, not when she first got diagnosed, after the surgery, I admit I didn't know how to cope. It was a lot for me to take. Seeing you like that, I felt a sense of inadequacy. How am I going to take care of her? I felt a sense of frustration because we weren't in a position that I could like hire you a private nurse and all this other kind of stuff. So I felt some kind of way about her having breast cancer. Plus, to be honest with you, the scars are hard to look at. I was in a space where I was not as supportive as I could have been at the beginning. So that was an area where she may have, and she'll have to speak for herself, lost trust that I was there for her in a time of crisis. But when you have a good trust in your relationships, you trust that your spouse will not abandon you or run away from you when those kind of tough things come up. And the last thing is that you make the marriage a priority. When trust is abundant, you're making your relationship and your marriage the priority. No one else comes in. No one else takes the top spot. There's no taking for granted. There's no neglect. You're making your priority, which is your wife, your spouse, your husband, your spouse, your priority.
And say, okay, so I know we're going fast.
Yeah, because we messed up the time and the cameras was dropping. Oh, sorry.
We need to say that again.
Say it one more again.
When love is...
Trust.
When trust and love.
And love.
Yes. When love and trust is abundant in the relationship,
mm-hmm.
you need to make it a priority.
Yes.
So in the times of lack,
mm-hmm.
when you have sickness or you have financial woes,
mm-hmm.
or you have deaths in the family,
right,
or you have anything at all going on.
Right.
When you come against those times of hardship in your marriage, if you have built up, it's just like money.
Come on, teach.
You want to put some money aside when you are in that abundant state.
Yep.
Because we all know that you go from highs to lows.
Mm-hmm.
From high to low. It does not matter. There will not always be a season of abundance. You will come back around and always have that season of lack. But you want to make sure that you are prepared. For that season
mm-hmm.
of lack.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
In having your season of lack come, if you have a death in the family, we have had. Hey, Keisha Fife.
Keisha says she wants her season of abundance. You got it. It's coming.
Amen.
It's coming.
See, so we have also had a lot of death in our family.
Mm-hmm.
And
we have.
And during those times of sadness, I needed to be able to, and usually it was in my family.
Right.
So I needed to be able to trust my husband to
be there, available.
To be available emotionally, to be available financially, to be available for me, to be available for our children,
mm-hmm.
to be available. And then he went above and beyond.
Praise God. And
was there for my mom, my sisters, my family. My family. He showed that abundance that he could be trusted during the times that I needed him.
Good. Amen. That's good. I mean, it's just how we're wired. So yeah, that's an important aspect, like you said, You got to be able to trust your spouse. But what happens
when the trust is broken?
When there's the infidelity or the other spouse wipes out the bank account and spends all the money gambling, or some other kind of big thing that lies about a bank account, whatever. The trust has been broken, and you walking around feeling some kind of way. The emotions are raw.
Or all the money or the whole paycheck has been spent on 911 dial a hole.
How do you recover? I mean, now you're looking at your spouse funny. You feel some kind of way. There's hurt. There's anger. There's bitterness. What happens when trust is broken? And I don't want to get too deep, but what happens when trust is broken? That opens a door for the enemy to really to play your emotions like a violin, because there's obviously going to be hurt. There's obviously going to be frustration, anger. You're going to feel all these rejections, all these other things you're going to feel, but to a amplified degree, because now the enemy has a chance to replay in your mind what happened, talk to you about it, let you mull it over in your head, throw images at you, and every time you look at your spouse, he's going to remind you of what he or she did. So the emotional level is like at an all-time high. You got to cope with that and decide whether or not you want to deal with rebuilding the trust. Right?
That's true.
So when that kind of thing happens, we got to have some steps in place to figure out how to mitigate those circumstances, how to get past the emotional part and get back to deciding we're going to fix things. I think the one thing, like in your example, the one thing we can do is just come completely clean. Okay, I messed up. I did this. I'm sorry. I want to fix it. You got to put yourself out there and open up and come clean. You might get 135 questions from your spouse about what you did, why you did it, where you were, what happened. You have to be prepared to answer those questions. Oh, we look so far away.
We so far.
We had Keisha, we had some technical difficulties. we trying to hang in there tonight, Keisha.
You have no idea.
Stuff was falling, and this is our second one, Keisha. But thank you for the tip. We'll try to get closer. But she's talking about yours because yours is kind of leaning. But the point is, you got to come clean.
You got to come clean,
and you got to be prepared to answer the tough questions. The second thing is, when you are the offender, you cannot sit up and be defensive. You can't be all casual and cavalier, self-righteous about it. Be haughty about your spouse has no right to ask you any questions, or how dare you get upset with me because of what happened. The worst thing you can do is to try to turn it around and make it the other person's fault.
I have a perfect example.
Go.
I don't know how many of the people that are connected with us now watched
Yes.
the porn.
Trust God. Yep. I'm sorry, NTH.
The
Wisdom Consulting.
Amen. The what was the porn?
It's about the porn video that we did.
Yes.
Not the porn video that we did. The video about porn that we did. Thank you. I had to clean that up. There you go. Back at you. Just want to make sure people weren't looking for no video to come out. No, there's no video. We did a video about porn, the dangers of porn.
The dangers of porn.
There you go.
So, one thing that Nate did when we were going through that ordeal, he opened up his phone for me.
Bam.
He showed me the secret compartments, the secret files, the secret how I could find everything that if I ever had a question, how I could find his memory, where I could find lost files, where I could find hidden files. He showed me everything.
Yeah.
And he just made himself completely naked before me.
Open book.
Open book.
Yep, open book.
And I didn't have to say, well, on Monday, Nate, at 6:30, I'm going to start checking your phone. So it was a surprise.
Yep.
Let me see your phone.
Let me see.
Let me see what's going on, or who you've been talking to,
right,
and stuff like that. So Nate, if you guys know Nate, he's very techie. He's very techie, so he knows all the ins and outs and everything else. And it was easier for me to rebuild my trust with him.
Right.
When I could go through and not find anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're having an issue with money and your spouse is hiding money,
exactly,
or spending money that they shouldn't be doing,
exactly,
shopping,
that's
or
old school.
Or anything else. Yep, that's old
school Michelle.
But that's old Michelle.
Old
yeah.
Michelle. Old.
So I had to tell him where my secret hiding place was for my shoes and stuff. Where I would hide
the places she would hide clothes.
The clothes and
the
stuff.
stow and go of the van. I'm going in there to look for a flashlight, and I'll open it up and see Coach bags. What? She was awesome with the hiding spots.
Under the tire, under the tire in the under the spare tire in the van.
Yeah, so we've experienced some trust issues over the years.
So yes.
Hey Delphine.
Hey Delphine. In those times where you're having, in those areas that you're having trust issues.
Yeah. Those are the areas you gotta be prepared to give up.
Those are the areas
expose.
that you have to be prepared to completely expose.
Yep. So if you're having an issue with hanging out with the boys, you might have to cut some relationships if your boys is getting you in trouble and causing trust issues in your relationship. If you're having issues with, you guys don't trust each other with money, so everybody's got their own account, you might have to go ahead and just take the leap and combine your accounts so that you can start to facilitate trust in your relationship. Those areas that there are issues of trust, you got to address them. You got to take the hard steps and address those issues. Cut off relationships that you have to cut off. Do whatever you need to do, because the most important thing is that you and your spouse trust each other.
You will never regain trust without making yourself completely open and vulnerable.
Yes.
To your spouse.
That's the truth.
That's the only way you're going to regain trust. And once you regain trust, you'll get that respect and that love.
Yep. It'll take place.
And it'll take place.
And if things get too bad, we got to recommend. You got to get some help.
Yeah.
You got to get somebody to mediate, help you have those discussions, counseling, pastor, wise counsel. Somebody that has your best interest in heart, somebody that is pro-marriage, somebody that wants to see your marriage survive and thrive. Those kind of people. Not anybody that's going to husband bash, wife bash. Nobody that's just going to be like, you know what, you don't need him anyway. No, none of that stuff. You need somebody that's going to give you some wise, experienced counsel. So if things get too tough and you can't find a way to work it out yourselves, don't give up. Find some help. And I'm sure people working together, you find a way to get past the mistrust issue. But the thing is, you have to decide that's what you want.
Yes.
It might get to a point where you don't want it. Unfortunately, that happens. But we believe that if you work together and get past the emotional element and decide, I want to work it out, I want to rebuild the trust, it can happen. No matter how long it takes, it's difficult, but it can happen. It can happen. Yes, Jake, it can happen. Yep. So I wouldn't want to take it too much more of your time because we had our mishap. We had our phones flying all over the place. That won't happen again. But yeah, we just want to
it won't happen again.
We want to make sure we got this topic out and talked about it, because we know
all things are possible.
There's some issues out there, and people are kind of feeling some kind of way, they're feeling some hopelessness because trust has been broken, you can trust again. You can trust again. You just have to decide, the two of you, that that's what you want. And then when you decide that's what you want, you wake up every morning, every day, and you pursue that thing like it's your last chance ever. That's what you do. You make it happen. Right?
You're right.
All right. You got anything to say to the people, Michelle, before we go tonight? All things are possible. That's right, Delphine. All things are possible to him that believes. Oh, yeah. Taking ownership. Come on.
You got to take ownership.
You know, you have to own your decisions. Own your actions. Don't point the finger. If you did it, you broke the trust. You broke the trust. Take that seriously. When you mess up, own it. Don't try to turn it around. Don't point the finger. Own it. And then get to the business of working that thing out. That's all I got to say on it. I'm starting to feel it.
Hey, oh, my attorney is on.
Uh-oh. Hey. We're about to go off, Crystal. Watch the replay.
So we just want to say again, thank you to everyone who stayed in there with us. We appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you guys
so very much.
We appreciate the love.
Yes. And this next week is going to be so much better. Promise. Don't forget, next week we are doing blended families. So we got a great couple for you guys, and they're going
that's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting.
It's going to be so exciting. They are going to just talk to us about blended families and the importance of making those right steps on blending your family.
Yeah. I just want to say one last thing before we go about trust.
Okay.
If you're in a position where you find that you can't trust your spouse or you can't trust each other, listen, you can always trust God. God will always, when you put it in his hands, he'll make something out of nothing. He'll make a way out of no way. If you can trust God when you can't trust your spouse, he can fix your spouse. He can fix the situation. Trust him and watch him work.
Watch him work.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Watch him work.
I'm starting to feel it, and I don't have no offering bucket.
I got an offering bucket.
All right, because I'm feeling it. Uh-oh. That's your good night clock. Well, I'm trying to tell you, this has been the most interesting. This has been the most interesting.
It's been a night.
And adventurous.
Hey, Josette!
Oh, Sister Josette in the house. Always good to see you. Always good to see your name come up. Always. We appreciate you. Oh, we love you too. Thank you so much.
We love you too, Josette.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. So, yeah, keep us in prayer.
Please keep us in prayer.
We're both feeling some physical ailments, but we wanted to make sure we got on here and pressed and honored our commitment to you.
Yes.
Because we love you.
Yes.
So, till next time.
Good
night.
Till next time. Deuces.
Good night.